my first ever movie review, and because next week is the release of the latest James Bond film, I thought I would do the first James Bond film as my first movie review, which is of course Dr. No. Now, the start off on Dr. No starts off in Jamaica, where Commander John Strangeways of the British Intelligence Service, chief of that section, is in Jamaica playing cards like he normally does in the local gentleman's club with a few of his friends. And what he normally does is, at a particular time, he would leave the game, head back to his office and send his encrypted message and report back MI6 in London. And as he's leaving the poker game, he is attacked by what looked like 3 blind black men who shoot him, put him in the back of the hearse and speed off quickly. Back in London, people that are waiting for his signal are worried because he never misses. He's never late, so they start getting worried. So the head of MI6, M, sends word to one of his best agents, 007, who at this point is in a casino playing a card game, Baccarat, which he wins, and he has caught the eye of a very attractive woman. And once he picks up his winnings, he is escorted back to MI6 headquarters, where he is informed of the situation by M, and he's also told that he has to take a new gun on the mission because his gun that he's previously used jammed on him on his last mission, and it took him a few weeks to recover. So, as Bond accepts this and he's about to leave, he's picked up his old gun, but M tells him to leave it, and he returns back to his flat, where the lady where he met at the casino is waiting for him, and knowing that he has a few hours before he must get to the airport for his flight to Jamaica, he enjoys a night of passion. The next morning he arrives in Jamaica, and he arrives and he gets to the airport, and as he's walking out of the airport waiting for his luggage, someone comes up to him and says, "We have been sent from the governor's office to meet you, allow us to take you to the office." Bond then makes a telephone call to the governor's office, and it becomes clear that they haven't. So Bond, realising it's a trap, cunningly plays along and says, "Fair enough, you can take me to the office." At the same time, a woman is taking photographs of it, which he doesn't really take much notice of, but also there is a CIA officer also involved in this case, and he's watching. As they drive out from the airport, the driver, instead of carrying on to the governor's office, he goes off onto a side road where Bond finally attacks and knocks him out, finds out what's going on, or tries to find out what's going on from this agent, who isn't able to give him much information, and so he kills him and drives himself to the office, where he meets the governor of Jamaica, and he discusses the situation about Commander Strangeways and what could have happened to him and the situation and the mission that he was on. To which point he decides to go off and speak to some of the people that Strangeways has recently spoke to in connection with the mission. And this is where he meets the CIA agent from earlier on, who is Felix Leiter, and they formulate the plan that they need to work with, and so forth. Then Bond meets Coral, who is a Jamaican man who is a fisherman, who Strangeways had arranged for him to go out to an island, Crab Key, where a mysterious man called Dr. No lives and operates out of, which was one of the points of Strangeways' mission, to find out more about Dr. No. So, after a bit of persuading and communication and a bit of a fight, Bond and Quarrel go off to Crab Key. And when there, they meet a very young, beautiful woman who is searching for coral and things like that, the actual coral on the beach, so she can sell. Bond immediately becomes attractive to her, and in the ensuing scenes, the Dr. No has his forces search the island trying to find these intruders, and also use what the locals call a dragon, which is really a highly armoured vehicle that can breathe fire. It's really a flamethrower attached to the top of the armoured car, but because it looks so realistic and because it's only seen at night, people don't really know what it is. So that's why people do not come to Crab Key. After a bit of hiding and trickery between Bond and Dr. No's forces, they finally, Coral gets killed, and Bond and the woman get captured, and they and then they go into his compound, which is very nice, and they meet him for dinner, and it's all about how his plan is to take over the world and become all powerful, and it's down to Bond to try and stop him. So Dr. No then creates a series of challenges for Bond that he has to complete for him to survive. Fortunately enough, Bond is able to defeat the challenges, and he manages to kill Dr. No and his evil schemes, and him and the young lady return to Jamaica, and he tries to get her set up in a comfortable life so she doesn't have to worry about reprisals of what they've managed to do. Then Bond heads back to London to get ready for his next mission. And that is the end of the film. All in all, the film is a brilliant introduction to the character. I think it is a perfect way for the character to be shown in this first film. I do believe that they made a brilliant choice in their choice of actor. Of course, is Sean Connery, and he is the first actor ever to utter those famous words:
Bond. James Bond.
name's Bond, James Bond. And it is such a great film, and I'm going to give it a rating or a review of Dr. No, James Bond 007, Dr. No, is, I'm going to give it a number 2. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoy this film, and if you haven't, I hope it's given you a chance, given you a taster of what the film is like. And if you are tempted to go and see it, I would definitely say watch Dr. No and all of the James Bond films, so you get an idea of what Bond is really like, and then you'll be able to enjoy not only the new film Spectre, but all films to do with Bond in future. Thank you very much. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I shall see you next week. Goodbye.